Hello and welcome to XboxEra. Today we are very, very happy to have with us Tomas Sala, developer of the Falconeer, which is a Steam and Xbox Series S and X and all the other Xboxes out there launch title. Welcome, Thomas. Nice to have you.
Glad to be back.
Yeah. If people aren't aware, we had Thomas previously with us on the XboxEra podcast. I think way back now. This would have been last year when you were deep in dev before the virus.
I think it was pre-virus, maybe a year or early this year, somewhere ahead of PAX, I think.
It feels so long ago. And obviously we're also joined by the one and only Shpeshal Ed, who because I'm going to be playing, and I'm sure any gamer out there can attest, when your partner comes in or your kids come in and you're playing a game and you're asked a question and you're too busy concentrating and you don't answer. So Ed's here to keep things on track, keep things moving smoothly.
And I'm very zoomed in at the moment.
Thank you for the heads up.
Skype is already not behaving for us.
It's just your forehead. Hilarious. Let's move.
We gotta figure something out.
It looks like you're Skyping from a laptop.
We're gonna switch to.
I am.
We're gonna have to switch to Teams, I think.
Oh, better.
There you go. It's all fixed. I'm gonna lock it off and hope that it actually behaves itself.
Bloody Skype.
So I can't see the chat, so I'm going to rely on you two to guide and provide all that sort of fun stuff.
Imperial Peak is the
so
Choose
we
now.
are
Choose now.
diving into
Imperial
the Falconeer
Peak
at the
is
moment.
the
Before we
attainable seat
play
in the Empire.
later on missions, I think we're
Towering
going to just
over
do the
Imperial
prologue so
Harbour
people can
and
get a
the
feel for it
Ursee
if you
is
haven't seen the game
inhabitants of
before.
Choose now what
All right.
stories and memories await you.
So at the
Choose
moment
now
we
what
can pick.
stories and memories
Is this like a
await
little bit of
What
lore
can
and
be gleaned
backstory
from
for us
these
here
lives?
in terms of who we are?
Yeah.
Choose
So
now
we've got
what
like
stories
Ensign,
and memories
Salamount,
await you.
Benedict,
What can be
Windfell. Are
gleaned
these like
from these
factions and
lives?
houses within the Ursee?
There are a limited amount of family names,
Choose
so
now
everybody's
what
sort of
stories and
related over
memories
there.
await you. What can be
So there are
gleaned from these
families,
lives?
and but these are just. Well, I don't want to give too much away, so.
Okay.
But I can say, normally you have to create your character, and there could have added sliders for that.
Yep.
But as part of the story, you're inhibiting a person basically.
You're playing
So I
in
didn't
a
want
history.
you to. You're playing in a history, so so these are all the people that you could sort of inhibit there. So it's a little nod to the story that'll make sense for whoever decides to go
Ascend
all
now
in
for-
on that. But I like my lore and on all the games to be sort of consistent and all fit the theme. So hence there's no slider, moustache stuff. But yeah, they're all, and the prologue is from the perspective of one chapter, so one faction, the Imperials.
So this is the Imperial. Is this the Imperial Tower? Am I remembering this correctly?
Imperial Peak.
Imperial
It's the
Peak.
Imperial Palace, so it's where the Empress lives.
Diving accelerates your bird and
So
Apparently the game
All the
audio.
way down to the
I'm
deck.
being told the game audio is clashing with our audio.
Okay.
Oh,
We can do things. Don't worry. We're doing this on the fly.
Yep.
Give me a second. People that are struggling for game audio, I've turned that down.
and it's game audio is worthwhile because it's
It's really
by Benedict
good.
Nichols, who is also doing for Omno and like a string of indie games, and he's gone to town on the music. It's got like didgeridoos, what you call bagpipes. It's got every instrument on Earth combined: Mongolian throat singing, Nordic throat singing.
Oh wow.
It's a weird soundtrack, and it works. It's fantastic. Above that, on Xbox, it's all mixed for surround sound. So I've got 5.1 or 7.1, and it's what's the new one on the
Atmos.
Atmos. It'll mix up to Atmos, and you will have mixed surround sound. You don't want to believe how much work that is, but it's insane. If you have it, or you have a surround sound headset, which is a thing nowadays, it sounds fantastic when things are exploding behind you. It's like I'm so happy with the audio for the game. It looks insane on your aspect on your monitor.
It's probably worth mentioning that. So we thought we'd do something because we know there's been a few live streams. So as I am silly enough to own a 32.9 monitor, I politely inquired if Thomas was happy for us to stream at this, quite frankly, bonkers resolution, which is the equivalent of two 27-inch monitors next to each other, and it looks great. It really does.
Yeah, it does.
It does. I am amazed it works. Actually, I knew I prepped for it, but not having that kind of hardware, I just sort of guessed how it would work.
Well, you guessed correctly.
I assumed someone would be crazy to do it, and here we are.
I like how minimal the HUD and everything is, all of it.
Yeah, that's a choice. I think that some
nice.
people are asking for a lot more guidance and feedback. I like that minimal HUD. It's it's not a sci-fi game. You need the mini-map, but at some point I was still contemplating not having a fucking mini-map. Just going, you're gonna have to learn where everything is in this world. Well, I'll show you a map up front, and then you'll have to navigate there.
Yeah.
Luckily, I got convinced that wouldn't be appealing to a lot of people. So there's a mini-map, and there's a world map, and there's maps.
Yeah. And, go on, Nick.
I was just going to say, so for those that didn't watch our episode of the podcast that Thomas was on, so how long now has this game been in development in total now? How many years?
Well, it's difficult to say because I've only been able to work on it full-time for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Before that, I had a job bills. But I would work on it in the evenings, and then it came from a failed project where I got a lot of the art design and the shade, a lot of the ideas on to do that textures. And then I started 7 years ago, I think after the Skyrim modding. So after for Skyrim, I went, okay. So it's been in the making for a fair bit. It's going to be interesting to see once if this is done. I'll do DLC and I'll be making the Falconeer for years, but to have it out, this has been such a part of my life. You got to hit barrage balloon. You get ensnared by the wire, but you can roll away from it. So if you're stuck in, roll and you'll roll out of the barrage balloons.
Yeah.
And
so are you using mouse and keyboard right now or controller, John?
No, it's controller. I was really tempted to break out the X52 hands-on throttle and stick, but I thought that might be overdoing it for a giant bird. But now I'm kind of maybe at some point in the future. But it's definitely I've tried both. I'm a console kid at heart, so I absolutely prefer the pad, and it gives me some serious Crimson Skies vibes.
I think the pad controls, there's 2 years of just working and polishing on that. So even on PC, I'd say it supports lots of control schemes. So WASD and mouse, but inverted, so full mouse control and steering, mouse separated aim with keyboard, but nothing beats a stick, and I'll stick with that. So either if it's on your gamepad or a flight stick, even though we haven't announced flight stick for Xbox yet, sadly. So watch that space. But for PC, it flies well. But the gamepad is what it was made for. So all the camera controls, it's really a gamepad game.
Yeah. So Professor Ack has asked, is this running on Series S or X? This is running on a PC,
This is running on a PC.
It's running on a console.
But this is running equivalent Series X settings. It's running on Max.
Yeah, I honestly have no idea if this, because I'm not a hardware guy. So I am not sure if Series X will output to these ridiculous aspect ratios, but I assume it's stuck to 16:9.
Yeah, I don't think they've supported
I have to admit though, just watching this in stupid ultra wide, I reckon it might be hard to go back to regular 16:9 now.
Yeah, there are a lot of games that are like that. So
I have a regular ultra wide, so it's 3840 by 1600. But yours is 5000 by 1400 or something, right?
So mine is mine's only 1080p. It's not 1440. So it's 3840 by 1080. So
Oh yeah, that's a substantial bit wide.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's I didn't particularly at the time the GPU I had in this rig wasn't really capable of doing 4K, not in any decent performant way. A couple of things I wanted to mention that I just experienced from a gameplay perspective is one, I love the idea that this gun on the Falcon's back is charged by lightning, and that I can fly into a storm to literally suck up electricity to recharge it, which is cool. And two, for those watching, if you've ever played Elite Dangerous or something like that, you can sub-target other systems, which I'm really pleased to see is in this game. So you can target an enemy, but then you might want to specifically target the gun or an engine or something like that. And I don't know how deep this rabbit hole goes, because I've seen some of the trailers. There's some big old air blimps and dragons and all sorts of crazy stuff coming. But I really love that as a system to kind of play with.
I've played a fair bit of Elite Dangerous, got up to a Fairlands. Pretty hardcore, but I do like what I liked about Elite Dangerous, that it flies like an airplane, even though the physics wouldn't require that. I think David Braben said by having the horizontal be faster, if you're the vertical pulling back be a core mechanic, the dogfighting would be more interesting. I completely agree with that. So I loved Elite Dangerous. So, but with regard to subsystems, the system isn't so. On a blimp or some of these battleships, there's turrets and engines, and you can target each one individually. And if you destroy one, the gun will be gone, or if it's an engine bit, the ship will be slower, and you can. There's a mission where you have to disable one. But additionally, sometimes they'll go critical, and then they'll explode and do splash damage. Nice. So the reason I did it is to have that option where you don't want to go flying back and forth and whittle down the hit points on a thing. You can say, well, I'm going to hit down all the turrets and wait till one goes critical, and I've had instances where you've softened up all the targets on the ship, you hit one, and then they cascade, and it's just boom, 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 and then the ship just lists up and dives down. I think those are the most enjoyable bits for me. I think it's a lot of added complexity that shouldn't have necessarily been there in an indie game, but I do think that's I wanted to have that depth to it. Otherwise, it's you don't want to make something wide and shallow, if you were. So it needed some depth to it, and that delivers that.
I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I like that little almost Star Fox touch where the avatar comes in from the side while it's talking. See how it's just happening now there? So it looks like the bad guy. Is that the bad guy coming in from the right?
Yeah, all the bad guys are on the right, all the friendlies are on the left.
Yeah, and I like that little almost Star Fox touch. It may not have been Star Fox may not have been the inspiration, but that's what it reminds me of almost straight away. That's pretty cool.
I actually the last time I played Star Fox, I think was on an Nintendo 60, Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Where you had to have that weird add-on.
Yeah. It had the cartridge had the Super Effects chip in it.
Oh, the Super. Yeah, that was it.
And
I haven't played. And people say Panzer Dragoon. I just like the art of Panzer Dragoon, but I've actually never played it. So the only thing I know about Panzer Dragoon, what triggered me, is that the dragons don't look like your typical fantasy.
No.
Here there be dragons. Let's have a wizard with a big wide-rimmed hat on it, type dragons.
And Panzer Dragoons on rails as well.
Yeah, Panzer Dragoons on rails, and I did a lot of Skyrim modding, and I think I love open.
So look, I'm just thoroughly into this fight right now. So.
Alright, so now I think John and I might have to start a studio soon with Thomas, because we're being asked in the chat. I don't know, unless he thinks Thomas is part of a larger studio, or I'm not sure, but Israel Ponce has asked, can you guys remake Conker's Bad Fur Day? I don't know. I don't know how much input John and I would have in that, but I think Thomas would be doing most of the heavy lifting on that one.
Oh, I
sorry, I dropped for a second, so I don't know what you were talking about.
We were asked if we can remake Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Like we, as in us three. I mean, I'll give it a go.
I don't know. Just as can you guys. So I think Thomas will be doing most of that, and John and I would just be chipping in with advice. Suka Brood has asked, how is the auto-aim lock-on? Is it needed?
Yeah. So, you answered that one.
Well, from my experience, so you've got the target, which obviously I think it gives you some visual indications of where it's going in a dogfight. But the white circle ahead of you is where you aim to land your shots. That's the feel I'm getting from the UI.
Yeah.
Accurate? Good.
Yeah. We've been having a lot of discussions on this on the beta Discord. Because people saying where it wasn't accurate, and then I tested it. I manually tested if it was, and it's actually a little too ahead. So what's happening here is normally if you play a flight game like say Ace Combat or War Thunder, the speeds and relative rotation, angular velocities are much. The speed is higher and the angular velocity is lower. So, because these things are 400, 500 miles an hour airplanes, or if you're flying a jet, up to whatever. So if you're shooting your gun, the precision is huge. You have to shoot way ahead. But these birds aren't not that fast, but their turning rates is ridiculous. So what's happening is that I think it's called precession. Where the arc of the weapon is sort of slowly following its got the momentum. How do you call it?
Yeah,
the lag basically.
Yeah, you're leading your shots.
You gotta lead your shots. So that's not too bad here, except that you're turning always at ridiculous speed. So the first time I made this demo, I had flying around. That was nice. The world was fucking nice. It was this is gonna be great. Let's add some combat. I couldn't hit shit. So I was flying around, and I realized because the speed and sort of the fluidly where I was making things, the geometry of it doesn't allow for any accuracy. You're spraying everywhere. It's super hard to hit. So that's why the auto aim is actually, it's not an auto, it's an aim assist. So it helps you keep your gun on target, but you do still need to lead and push the bullets in, as it were. Without that, there is a hardcore mode. And it turns it off. I can get a couple of kills, but it's like real dogfighting. Yeah, I'm gonna miss most shots at that speed. So I don't know. Maybe someone needs to play that online in a tournament or something. I have no idea how people. But so there's an aim assist that's at work, and it's on the mouse and gamepad versions and on the flight stick, and it helps you out a lot.
So I've just loaded into chapter 3 here, which is called The Shard. Just a quick bit here. So I just wanted to... So it looks to me, and perhaps you can speak a bit to this, Thomas, when you load into a new... I presume these are different areas that you're wanting to test for the beta. We're getting a little bit about the house that occupies this area. And I kind of wanted just to, if you can, without any spoilers, talk a little bit about the moor. Is this huge Mariana, the trench here in the middle of the sea? Like, it's curious and it's ominous and it scares me a little.
Well, if you're into sport, I think we'll reveal a little bit more in the Discord, so people should be paying close attention to what's going to happen in the Discord for the game. So there'll be we'll be lifting the veil in a fun way a little bit on it, but it's a centerpiece for the story of the world basically and its history.
Awesome.
But basically, so how I usually work, I start with anything I do. I start with the landscapes. So I make the landscapes first, and then I'll have to have a look after I've made them what they mean for me personally. So sometimes they're really personal landscapes. And you'll see that later. But then I have to decide, okay, there needs to be people living there. There needs to be a story there. So at some point I made this more also because I needed a giant... so there's gameplay reasons why it's there. So you need a giant landmark. Otherwise, on a water world, you're going to get repetitive lost.
Yep.
So at every turn, I want to pervert the expectations of the player on what an ocean world is. So You know, you've seen shots in the trailer where the ocean is opening up and bloody temples are coming out, and the mall is part of that. So it's a giant trench where gravity is all fucked, and the water is flowing down or up, and it's like a giant canyon run in an ocean world.
Yeah, I can confirm. The first thing I did was literally, let's go, and did the. I was always humming the Star Wars theme tune.
It takes about a good 7 minutes or something to do a proper mall run if you're not. So but it is in the story. It is the dividing line of the world as well. So there's one faction that exactly knows how it got there, what its purpose is, what brought it into being. But for the rest, for the common people, it's just this sort of scary, unnatural place which they tend to avoid. There's a bridge across it as well, or an aqueduct, which is, if people are into it, I'll have to write a blog one day, but it's where it's in the trailer. It's an aqueduct over the water, and the water goes down and over and under, and it's all seamless. That is a good bit of video game tech art.
Nice.
There's so many tricks going on there. Are you going to do a little run?
Well, I don't want to spoil that. I think people have to pick up the game on day one if they want to see that. That's teased. That.
Yeah.
They should have to either join the Discord to learn a little bit more. We'll drop a link in the chat. For Thomas's Discord.
I want to get a few more questions out before they start to disappear in the chat.
Yep.
This is the intro mission, so you just go ahead, play the mission.
Yep.
There's a little bit of combat, and then the next one is really cool.
Proven has asked firstly, how big is the bird?
The bird is there's a tweet online. It's bigger than a double-decker bus, so it's a big ass bird.
That's a big bird. He's also asked, isn't there a chart? Now I'm not sure.
Chart. If you go to menu and there's a world map there, definitely.
Okay.
So we can
what else? What else have we seen? Okay, Professor Ack has also asked. This is an interesting question. Is there multiplayer? Would love some large PvP type battles.
Not in the initial release. So I'm developing that. I've got assistants. I've got a Stefan who's helping me with Stefan Bankers, who's like a really expert Xbox and console programmer and developer who's helping with the specifics of that. But I'm doing all the gameplay but in art by myself.
Yeah.
Running a multiplayer game, I don't think. Well, you hear these stories of multiplayer shooters not running well and then they go bankrupt and stuff. It takes inordinate amounts of money, resources, support. Just drop the box.
I can drop the box.
Pick it up later. Yeah, just like with the bombing button.
Oh,
with the right button.
sweet. Okay, I was gonna say I couldn't roll and I was feeling hindered.
Yeah. No, you're carrying something. So then you can it's on the map. It should have a little icon later when everything's gone. So where were we?
The multiplayer, very expensive.
So I know it's a lot easier nowadays, but it's something I'd love to explore, but I need a little help. So nobody goes out and buys this game, and I can get all the right people on board. Maybe we can add that as DLC or a patch one day. But it would be nice. I think the combat's interesting. You gotta roll, man.
I gotta roll.
You gotta roll. Yeah, roll.
What else have we got?
I'm watching you on a slightly delayed stream.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the wrong.
Sukabrood has asked, are there RPG mechanics to the bird, like upgrades and stuff?
Oh yeah, definitely. So
cool.
in the beta, there's a couple of chapters, but you can, if you're in the beta, and I think there was a key giveaway today, you can explore all the upgrades. So there are, let's start. So the bird, if you went at the opening, you could see there were a number of stats. So there's health, regeneration, so that's just your auto heal basically, or your regeneration, speed, agility, I think that's it. 5, speed and agility. And just like in RPG, you can improve those. The initial way to do that is just get a better bird. So there's a couple of different races of bird you can purchase. So when you were in the prologue, you were flying a white bird. If you target the turrets, you can hope someone goes critical.
I'm gonna give that a go.
That'll help.
Okay. Now we have.
All right.
Sorry.
Sorry, Dad. So the next stage is to buy mutagens for your bird that influence individual stats, and there's like light ones and heavy mutagens, and you need to discover and unlock them, etc., etc. Then there's different types of weapons which have different quality grades. So you can have a damaged lightning caster or a superb one, and it'll be a significantly different gun. In quality and in firing rates and damage and stuff. Then there are, and the final bit is chants, which are like passive abilities. So, for instance, there's a chant that you equip, and it makes sure that anything you destroy goes critical. So it's not it improves your critical hit chance, and then stuff just starts to explode. And because you're playing Chapter 3 with a baby bird, so this is the level 1, it's just a starter bird.
I'm probably going to struggle with it.
You don't have the XP, and you're not upgraded in any way. It's taking a little bit to kill down these skull ships, which are actually starter enemies, which are just here to this cannon fodder. I'm watching you play. So those are the different paths to upgrade your bird. So there's a fair variation on what you can do and abilities you can unlock. And you'll have to do some of the open world stuff to unlock all those upgrades as well.
That feels so good to have destroyed them.
We have an HDR expert in the chat, Evil Boris.
Oh, hey, Boris. Nice to see you.
I think still of Digital Foundry, but I could be wrong.
I don't know, he's flirting with Jeff Grubb. He's doing all sorts of things nowadays.
He has asked, does the game have HDR?
Okay, so I'm not an expert on HDR, so I just turn on the buttons. That said, it's rendering at HDR, so all the rendering is done at HDR. And we're still fiddling in what gets outputted how. But yes, the game supports HDR, and it's all the performance specs are with HDR on, so it's rendering to HDR render targets at the proper depth, and should be outputting that. Yeah.
Okay.
So the answer is yes, but I'm in the midst of sorting all that stuff out. In time for lunch, and it's because you have HDR TV. So there's HDR rendering, then there's HDR televisions in different levels. There's different. It's like holy shit.
This monitor claims it's HDR ready, but
you can always reach out to Evil Boris. He's in the Discord. You can reach out to him whenever you like. He's an expert in it.
Yeah. Well, it's the great thing nowadays. I'm using Unity, so it just has settings. So it's just, everything turns to HDR. So I don't have an HDR TV, but hopefully have one at one point. But yeah, so for instance, if you go to settings now and just turn off HDR, you'll see the color depth just degrading. So you'll see color banding on all those issues. So that's the thing that was important to me. So all the television stuff, I have no ideas. The game doesn't use the full color output you would have in photorealistic rendering, because it is a cartoony rendering.
Yeah. That's right.
But I don't know if you can see it on stream, but if you turn HDR off, you can see the difference. But it has very subtle color gradients.
Yeah.
So those are all set to HDR to make sure you don't have that old-fashioned color banding.
Yeah. And there's almost no textures in the game, right?
The only texture is the font, and there's texture technology being used for all kinds of visual effects. But there's no pre-made textures. I have no Photoshop. So or substance design or anything. It's just it's math basically.
Yeah, that's cool.
Now I struggled with landing earlier, so perhaps you can give me a live demo here.
Yeah, there's no front. Just press I think
it's
the button.
A, isn't it?
A. We're on Xbox. Just press A. It says so on the bottom left corner of your giant ass screen. See that little coming. It's all the way on the left.
Gotcha.
So press A, hold A. Why are you not pressing A?
I've done it. It's all right. You're a few seconds behind me. So that's interesting. So there's some live beta feedback for you. For us stupid ass monitored people, we need to have that little guy way back over here in the middle. I'm just totally not seeing it.
Yeah. blinking or something.
Like honestly, earlier today, or it might have been yesterday. I was just like like a stupid person, just thunking into this dock. Like, why can't I land?
One of the things I'm working on is there's a lot of people that are talking about they're just not seeing it. You know, it's popping up, and so it's one of the things. Okay, it's a poor design. Okay, so it's probably going to be changed for the.
I wouldn't
for
say
life.
poor design. I don't think you planned
Well,
on this being played on
but
this.
the thing is, initially it was auto landing. So if you just approached the perch, it would land. But then feedback I got from previews and stuff that people will be landing during combat or when they didn't want to land.
Yeah, that's fair.
Frustrating. Added the prompt, but it's not. I like it's the minimal interface biting me in the ass basically. So did you move ahead of the mission? Oh yeah, get some dragons now.
Oh, okay. With my poorly
just
unequipped level 1 bird, let's do this. Let's hope I don't die.
Yeah, you have a decently competent wingman. So if you use the D-pad left.
Yep. See, I love this. Just charging up the old ammo in a storm. Such a cool effect.
Now, one question that I was actually going to ask earlier for myself, so I'm glad it's been asked in the chat, and it's by Midi Benny. Now, I can't remember if we brought this up on the podcast episode, but it's very important to me. Is this more an easy, medium, or difficult achievement game?
Ooh. Oh, fuck. So it's I like. So I am the guy that plays everything on easy.
Me
so
too.
I find that most people after about half an hour playing or 50 minutes, it'll snap and they'll be shooting stuff. And I was on a stream watching a streamer, and she didn't like flight game, but she got off her first kill fairly easy. So it is not that hard, but I think it is a proper flight game. So the dogfighting is proper dogfighting that you need to do the maneuvers, and you need to have spatial awareness. If you're into like third-person action games, God of War, or I don't know, whatever big tentpole game, you'll be used to having your enemies and your set pieces be managed flawlessly. So you'll look to the right and suddenly something will come charging through the woods, or all that stuff makes for great cinematic gaming experiences. But in dogfighting, that goes all out the window, because the objective of the enemies is to get behind you. So a lot of the action is not happening in anywhere you would expect it. I find that's something which is the classic dogfighting, gameplay you need to enjoy. Otherwise, it can be how do you call it? It gets some taking used to. So there's lots of off-screen firing and stuff. So I think if people who like into flying games, I love it. I find a lot of people enjoy it. Once you get into it, it becomes very epic. The dogfighting itself. So it is. Let's say it's not a hard game, and at easy it's really quite easy. So there's an easy mode that
I'm playing on right now.
Oh yeah, well that's just takes a couple puffs. You see everybody going down. So there is an easy mode. It's not hard. But
what about the achievements though?
You mean the actual achievements? The achievements are really accessible. So there's a few harder achievements. So there's I don't know. Do I tell some of the achievements? Do people want to discover that by themselves?
Yeah, I don't know. Go for it.
I don't know. So there's an achievement. So in the game there's fortresses, and if you defeat a fortress, so destroy all its defenses, and fly away. If you come back later, it'll be claimed by your faction. So if you're flying for the Mancer Order or for the Imperials, as you hear, you can take it down a man's fort, and if you fly back 20 minutes later or 10 minutes later, it'll be an Imperial fortress.
Nice.
There's an achievement you get if you take down every fort in the game, and there's 13, and some of them are deep in enemy territory. So some are easier than others, but there is, I don't know the number, I think about 30 or 30 plus achievements. So there should be good. But it's not, how do you call it, unreachable. So So they're all
Okay.
reachable achievements.
I
There's
hope
no.
so. Because I don't know. Whenever there's a game I'm about to start playing, the achievement list is one of the first things I check.
Ha!
Oh, yeah.
I'm
I
completely
think
the
that one
opposite.
you have to do all the forts is the most difficult achievement. So everything is very clear cut. You need to find everything. You have like 100% completion on the map. So if you open up the map, there's a little list of locations you can discover. So we're doing missions now, but normally there's just a button that says take off or leave, and you can just enter the open world. And there'll be open world content to explore, just like in an Assassin's Creed game. So you can do time trials, escort ships, I don't know, find treasure.
Oh, I'm fighting the dragon.
Yeah.
I know you guys can't
there's
see it
dragon.
yet, but yeah, I am fighting that dragon. And I'm diving
it's
in the
not,
sea in panic.
If you don't, if you've got a target and you hold down the B button, we can all see it, because the camera will track your enemy.
Oh, awesome. You might have noticed earlier as well, I dived into the photo mode because that was a particularly gorgeous moment. So does this game have a full day-night cycle with the storms being random and wow?
Yeah. So if you pause it, we
Yeah,
can
I
go into
noticed that
photo mode. I
earlier.
can show you the controls.
Let's see if I can get to a good fight moment. Hang on, let's get in close before I do it. Hang on. Here we go. There we go. Right, so we got not settings. Not
Oh,
settings.
no, but you're on the screen.
Here we go. Right, I'm in photo mode.
So if you're in photo mode, if you use the X and A buttons, you can actually cycle the day-night cycle.
No,
It's
way.
quite slow. So.
Oh, look at this.
So-
This is nifty. People that
cool.
like photo modes, you can customize your lighting. This is very, very smart.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So and there's a field of view on the Y and B, and then the bumpers are up, down, and you know, canter, how do you call it, tilt camera. There's all kinds of movie titles.
It actually
names for
controls
this.
very similarly to Halo 5's Forge camera modes. So
Oh, does it? I had no idea.
clearly, it's you've just honed in on industry standards. I guess it feels really, really simple.
I just came up with it. I thought this is how it should work. I haven't played a new game in 3 years, man.
Oh,
The last game I played, I think, was Zelda or The Witcher 3. So after that, I'm not allowed to play games. The Falconeer's done. So I'm gonna run out like everybody and get a Series X when this is done. And I'll be playing Cyberpunk for a month.
yeah, I think everyone in the world is looking forward to that game.
Yeah. Well, they still play the Falconeer because you're gonna need this. You're gonna need to fight the dogfight and fight dragons. And then if you had used the D-pad, you could also have some depth of field effect on there. So you got the dragon.
Yeah, the dragon is down. I'm feeling good about myself now.
Yeah, you're gonna pick up. You picked up some how do you call it?
Splinters, right?
So that's the currency that I got from Fable. I love the little balls, the experience portals that
now
collect.
I'm out of ammo, so I need to find some way to replenish.
Well, actually, did you see that building that was all around here in the sky a little bit?
Yeah.
It's called Pete's Emporium. Just fly towards that because that's a shop.
Ah, okay. Where is that building?
I think it's north of. I don't know where you were at.
Let's have a look.
It's
I've got a
up in
world
the
map,
cloud.
right? I've got a world map. Let's have a look here.
Yeah, you got a world map.
Zoom on the trigger.
You're probably gonna, or
There
you
you
just
go.
wait till your wingman takes down the last ones.
Ah, there it is. Airborne Emporio. Straight ahead.
Yeah.
Now,
It might be in the combat zone and won't allow you to land.
Buggerlugs 214. Not so much a question, but kind of more a comment. Less than a month to go. Must be so exciting seeing people playing your game.
It's scary as fuck. Because we're also doing a beta, so the first thing that happens is the first day of the beta. There it is. It's a bit tricky to land that one.
Yeah,
Oh, you're still in combat.
They're still...
Yeah.
Come on, wingman.
One of the upgrades is going to be, I'm still working on those, having bigger ammo canisters, so that this won't happen as much.
Well, I've skipped ahead with my weak level 1 bird, so it's understandable why I might run out of ammo. Come on, wingman.
Yeah, exactly. So when people start playing it, so the first day of beta, everybody's just gonna find all the obvious things that are wrong, which you haven't seen or forgot about. So that can be daunting. But I think now it's on a much better place. We figured lots of PC controls are pretty decent now, and it's I don't know. I get pretty anxious about it because I've worked on it so long, and then see people playing it. But people seem to enjoy it, so you gotta have faith in that.
That's great.
But
now Pong Soul has asked, game looks incredible. Thank you for doing this live stream. Any plans for expansions after release?
Already, it's not enough, Thomas.
It's not enough. Now I've got a brain full of expansions, man. Oh, I've already pitched the sequel, so I have plans beyond this you wouldn't believe. So, but there will be DLC and patches for this.
Nice.
I suspect I'll be working on the Falconeer for another year, basically. Or at least a significant amount, just to get more content in there. There's stuff I cut, which is on the cutting. So there's a couple of mosaurs, which is sort of mosasaurs. Everything's named a little bit different. So there's creatures. You still can't fire your gun. You weren't able to land.
I can't land. So I'm just
use your D-pad to tell your wingman to take him down.
He's being told. He is being told. Come on, deep wingman, take him out. There he goes. Look, one shot. Come on.
Did he one-shot it?
He just gave it a little tickle.
I can see it now. Just fly back home, man. Let them take care of it.
We have a lot of smartasses in the chat today.
Yeah, there's
What are
some
they?
silly people.
You know, like Tom Willert. I hope they've pronounced that correctly. Birds the size of 2 buses. Imagine the size of their dumps.
It's what do you think the bombing is for?
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, the in-game lore is actually just
I'm
dropping
reminiscent of Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park there.
Yeah, he killed him. He killed him. We're on our way home.
What else have we got here? Are there any air tricks? Ruthrik Rao. Are there any air tricks the bird can do?
It can do rolls.
Yeah, I've been doing them.
And dashes and dives.
Yep. So I'll try and do some. Let me build up some. Some energy because it's a stamina-based thing, right? That's the blue.
So you have to dive a little bit to gain. It's like potential energy. That doesn't mean anything. But if you rise up and then you dive, you gain energy. This is again your beginner bird.
Oh, look at that giant whale.
You see it still. If you do a slow dive, it's better. Like it teaches you in the tutorial. So don't use the dive button all the time.
Yeah, just dive down, as in just
as
point.
A whale.
Yeah, giant whale. Yeah, we can refill up here.
But again, so you saw the rolls before, so I'm watching the wrong screen. So when you do the rolls, the amount of stick you apply to your left stick determines the outcome. So if you do a little, give it just a nudge, it'll become like a strafing roll, so like an avoidance you can use for incoming guns. Even your wingman thinks you're slow. He's kept.
I am flying the wrong way, just to try and build up.
Yeah. So, but if you pull the stick all the way to the left or up or right or even that, you'll do like a full 180 within your roll. So the roll itself, it's not like it is a. I would call it pulling the bird where you want it. So it's that sounds really dirty for British people. I just realized, but it's you're throwing the bird around in the sky. So there's a little bit more depth to the roll itself. So it's one effect basically, but it does a lot of things.
Yeah. So you've got a kind of boost as well on left bumper. The air brake I love the animation for the air brake because it's almost like the pose you see of a still shot of a falcon or an eagle coming in to pick up some prey. You get this kind of It's really effective.
People love taking pictures of it because it looks like the Batman logo, I think. So I've seen a couple of stuff where, because the beta testers can share some of the images now, and they're doing like the sun with the Gary, the social media manager, figured it out. It's like a Batman logo with the bird.
Amazing.
I think I'm gonna have to stop indulging Evil Boris. Is it still dogfighting when it's birds?
I struggle with that. A
Are
lot.
there any unlockable flightless birds? I want to play as a roast chicken.
There's always one.
Could have at least said a penguin.
Well, is he the guy that asked on Steam if there were flamingos? Because I can respect that.
Or a cyborg dodo, he says. Or maybe the goose from that untitled game. Okay, Evil Boris, I'm not calling out your stuff anymore, sorry. Ruthik Rao has said, will there be a Zen mode of sorts, which focuses on simply chilling and flying around and exploring? That's actually an interesting question.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people are asking this because the flying itself is quite relaxing, and then the music. I don't know if people, but if you go down a mod, it's like a trance-like music. So you can get into this trance. It's like proper Zen, like and you're flying about, and it's really in tune. I think I made it. So don't believe me, but you know, watch the vids. But for me, a world is if I'd say there's a Zen mode and I turn off all the combat or all the danger in the world, it would remove the coherence of the world. So it wouldn't make you're sort of drawing back the curtain to show it's just a backdrop. But for me, these landscapes are the essential part of the game. So by saying, well, they're not about I'm taking out the combat or something, I'm degrading the integrity of the experience to me. So, but if you go into chapter 1, you're playing as a free house civilian. You're basically buddies with everybody. So you can have a large area of the world to explore without getting your ass shot off. Which is fairly so that is the closest thing to a Zen mode, and that I took effort to do that, but there is danger there, so there's places where you get shot at, and it makes the experience more, you know, coherent, instead of, you know, it's not a backdrop for you to fly through. It is a world. There's people in there. They have motivations. They're angry people. There's conflict and danger. That all belongs in there. So that's important to me that that's safeguarded.
Fair enough.
Well, if I survive this, I know I said earlier in the stream that I wouldn't go to the cool aqueduct Moorbridge thing, but it looks like this mission is going to take me there.
It depends on,
let's give it a go.
And it's I don't know how long the mission is though. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see how we fare. We'll see how we fare.
It's sometimes at the in the bottom left corner, because I don't know what versions you're playing. Are you playing the beta?
Yeah.
I might have broken it because someone reported it. Sometimes on the bottom left corner where the landing prompt is, there will be a prompt to fly ahead, and it will teleport you a bit into the mission, so you don't have to traverse all the area. So there's a little bit of fast travel in there. Yeah, there it is. So if you hold A,
I missed it. Hang on, let me.
It's on your bottom left. Oh, I saw it on the delayed stream. Sorry.
Yeah, so I've already missed it.
Yeah,
so
now you're too close. So now you're gonna have to do the distance.
Oh, fair enough.
I know the flight. It's not that far.
It's nice to fly, to be honest with you. It's nice.
We have hybrid in the chat. We've still got I'm actually surprised. I've actually got quite a few questions. Hybrid in the chat / I think that's theory. He's asked, how long is a playthrough on average?
So we now have a little bit of data, but it changes. So I added that fast travel thing. So there's now ways to speed through So if you don't do, and it doesn't happen much to fast travel, we are expecting 10-12 hours to run through it, to do the main story, do some of the side quests, explore some of the world, but you can speed run that. I'm pretty sure someone's going to come up. I did it in 55 minutes. Fine. But I think that's one of the beta testers grinded down the bird to max stats to level 20 and took him 13 hours of flying.
Wow. Okay.
So, well, the thing was he was playing on keyboard and mouse, or I don't know what, but there was a bug and then I changed it so the controls were better for him. And I came back the next morning and he had the level 20 badge. And he said, "How long did it take you?" And I had to look at 13 hours. I go, oh wow. So I think it's still an indie title, so it's not a AAA produced Ubisoft game where you get to wander for 60, 100, 300, 600 hours. But I hope people get a good 12 hours out of it.
Without good to me. And you can play the game. We're being asked by Shinta. Is it possible to play the game with a HOTAS? With a flight stick?
Okay. We haven't announced anything like that for. Still working on it for Xbox, to be honest, because it's a little bit more difficult. But for PC, it's already supported, and you can just hook up your HOTAS. It doesn't use the throttle really that much because it's not part of the game. But the stick is fully. I've got got a nice one here, so I've got one of those, it's nicely laid out and it flies fantastic with the stick.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's for stick games.
No, that's good. We're still getting a lot of smart ass comments. Vinny13, do better, sick.
He's a friend of mine.
I know.
We'll let
Some
that
ammo
slide.
when you landed just a little bit. Did you buy some new ammo?
I bought this slow rate, more powerful gun. So let's see how I feel.
Oh, that's good. That's ammo conserving. You bought the. So here come the dragons.
Oh my god!
Here
Yeah,
comes
this is a much harder
reference
mission.
in the chat. Do a barrel roll.
Stick close to, you see that big ass gun, that big ass ship you're protecting? It is literally riddled with guns. So if you stick close to that fucker, it'll start shooting off its big. It shoot. Actually, I'm not seeing it, but it should help you out.
This is kind of cool. This is like in Halo terms, I've got my DMR, or my BR, and it is 6. So let's see what I can do.
What's a BR?
Battle rifle. It's like a single shot. Yes.
Oh yeah, it's a high velocity rifle basically.
So how does the bird generate health? Does it just regenerate slowly over time, or?
Yeah, it's auto regenerated. You nearly died there, I think.
Yep.
You're tussling with the dragon. So there's an auto heal in there that's always on, so you get recuperate. If you need a little bit more, there's these little fish that are swimming around, sometimes jumping out the side of the water. If you dive into the water and pick up a fish and use the bombing button, so that's the right bumper, you can eat it and it'll give you a boost. And some fish, like golden fish, will give you health and energy. Blue fish gives you a little bit of blue energy, and red fish gives you health. So there are little buffs around to discover to the game that help you survive in combat. Stick to the big dreadnought if it's still around.
I'm just collecting some money.
One other question from the chat before I ask a couple of questions myself. Ruthwick Rao again has asked, just a random question for Tom. What game, according to you, did the best implementation of flying? And in brackets, he's got arcade preferably.
Oh,
that's a big question.
Aside from the Falconeer, of course, yeah.
Well, so there's so many. I loved Crimson Skies. Let's be honest. So a part of this is just a homage to how much I love Crimson Skies. Yeah. But I also love like space games like TIE Fighter and stuff. So there's lots of inspiration in it. There was a multiplayer World War I style dogfighting game. I'd say late 90s. 1998 or something, or 2003, 2004. That had these really loose draggy physics where you could turn the plane and shoot backwards in your turn while you're still sort of gliding. I remember that as being some of the most, and the Falconeer definitely has that, where if you hold the camera right, it'll do these turns on a dime. Oh yes, like shitloads of dragons incoming.
Was it called VF 1942?
I think so.
Sorry,
not Battlefield. I've not played Battlefield. No, not Battlefield. But that might have had the same physics. But or what had it? It's all a blur. But that had great flying physics. I'm thinking of creature games.
Oh dear! I think my ship's been destroyed. Oh no! My ship's still kicking butt.
But it's a fucking battleship, man. It doesn't get destroyed. It destroys. I think it destroyed the Mancer ship that was there. They have their own battleship, but this is like you're escorting basically a super weapon. So there's lots of how do you call it? A German reviewer said it's like Game of Thrones in the air. So there's lots of intrigue and stuff. So this is a little minor spoiler. But that is the biggest ship in the game you're escorting. Nice. Well, you can see with all the bullets coming out.
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
Something I want to ask, and I'm sure people might want to know. So, You know, back when you were on the podcast, I think the game was being developed for PC and Xbox only at the time, and then of course, Series X was announced, Series S was announced. So how late in the game did not game as in the actual game, but how late in development did you have to pivot to have to then consider the Series X and S?
I think we all knew that something was coming.
Yeah.
So it's been in my back of my mind for a fair bit. But then nobody knew the date and stuff like that, and so I don't know if I can talk about that stuff. But I'd say so at some point I think we all knew the Series X when it was revealed. I think last year or something that it was going to happen. I remember that. So I think I knew when everybody knew, and that's when you start to prepare for next gen. So you prepare before you even have the hardware. You're already sort of have a good technical grasp of what I will be able to do. And it's the Falconeer is not, I'll be honest, it's not the most demanding game, but it does a couple of tricks which are very demanding. So if you're looking at the clouds now. What they're doing, it's a really brute force of doing volumetrics that is it's just eats up your GPU. So it's definitely doing heavy hardware stuff, and I sort of guesstimated that would be fine in the next generation. But that's I don't know. I don't have a clear answer on when I precisely knew, and possibly I wouldn't tell you if I knew.
Yeah, fair enough. So
it's
we know 4K 60 for Series X, as well as 1800 120, which is really cool.
Yeah.
1X, we have 1860 on 1X.
1X 1860, yeah.
Yep. And one Series S, we said 1080-60.
Series S is 1080-60 native, yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
And 1S, I think you said 1080-60, or am I mistaken?
Yeah, and then the regular one, so the base, how do you call it? The fat boy? No?
Yeah, just
the fat boy.
Someone called it that yesterday. So that does 900p 60.
960.
With the caveat that, of course, these, it's the previous generation. The 1X and above will run it at a solid 60 FPS. So I doubt there even be much dropping. But there are some drops to 55 FPS. In very extreme circumstances, but that's hardly noticeable during gameplay. But it upsets me. But I'll be honest about it. So it never drops below 40 ever. But yeah, frame rate's important to me. You're playing with the photo mode again.
I couldn't help myself because it's just such a cool little area. Like, look at that.
I'm trying to think if I got my consoles mixed up before. So the Series S. How high does the Series S go at?
The Series S goes to 1860, and it'll have a 1080 120 performance mode.
Oh, cool.
It'll actually do more than that, but it had some frame drops, and I didn't want any frame drops in the next gen stuff, so it got stuck to 1080.
1080,
but it'll do that 120 very solidly. I think the Series S is a very impressive device.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for what it is, yeah. So there's actually, out of curiosity, because I'm getting a Series X, does the Series X have an option to go 1080 if you wanted? Not that you'd probably want to, but for people that are on that kind of monitor or whatever, would there be an option for 1080 120 on Series X?
No, there's an option to go 1800 120.
Yeah, 1800. No, yeah, I knew the 1800. I just
you want to go lower than that? No, there's no option. I think the Xbox and have done that since. I'm not entirely sure because, like again, I'm not a hardware expert.
It's what's the phrase?
Downsamples it to
downsample.
1080.
Yeah, that's right. It'll downsample anyway.
So basically, what you get is a super sampled game that has fantastic how do you call it? Anti-aliasing that looks smooth as.
1800 though. 1800 would upscale to 4K pretty well, wouldn't it?
Well, actually, but like again, you don't want to anybody to be upset. So we've put down 1800p 120, but it's actually running at 4K native, rendering all the GUI stuff at 4K, and then the 3D world is 1800p upsampled. So some people would say that is 4K 120, but no, that didn't fly well with me. So and with the team, so we put it down as 1800p 120, but it's actually a little bit above that.
Okay.
Okay, interesting. But are you? I believe we might have been talking about this before. But are you looking at potentially later on pushing all of it to native 4K 120?
Well, initially I'd love to do the game and just have it only do 120. So regardless, so people are asking, well, most TVs are 60 hertz and all this. You know, some cables can't even do 120 yet. And I don't even know how the Xbox does all that magic. Regardless, if you play something at 120 FPS and lots of other components, so I think like your controller and stuff, go a lot faster than 60 hertz. The reduced latency and generally the timing improvements are fantastic. So even I have a 60 hertz television, 4K television I run it on. If I play it at 120, it just feels so much smoother. So there's no, so you've removed, so I don't know, really good programmers can do it better than me, but if you're at 60 FPS, often a frame will drop because it's just not fast, you know, it's the 59th frame, so to speak. And then, and it goes per frame, or the other frame is twice as long, and all those little differences combined make up 60 frames per second, or 30 frames per second. But if you're at 120, the difference are usually you can drop to 90 or 100. It'll be still be more than your TV can go. So the engine can pick out the best frames, and it's always solid and smooth. So a responsiveness there that even if you're on a 60 FPS, I believe. But someone can correct me because I'm not a hardware guy and I always get this shit wrong. If I play it, it feels better to me, more smooth, more responsive. And it's what PC guys, you know, I have a 60 hertz monitor, but I play 140 FPS all the time, and it always feels than 60 FPS.
Now, Tavish Hill, now I'm curious with this question if this delves into like stuff you can't say or whatever. And if you can, then it gives us a little bit of insight as to how smart delivery works, maybe a little bit. But Tavish Hill has asked, any difficulty porting to Xbox Series S? Now, you technically don't port to the Series S. It's one version, isn't it?
It is all one version. Yes. So there's I don't. So there's this is going to things I don't think.
We're delving into SDK NDA type stuff that we.
And that's why I asked: are we delving into that now?
No. So I think it's been really painless, and the fact that I'm an indie guy by myself, I help for the porting bit. Someone who's less, who's much more organized. Let's say that in doing all that, getting it connect to Xbox Live properly and following all the rules and stuff. So I have help, but that's two guys making a fucking open world game and porting it to the next gen. I think that's testament to how well equipped the hardware and all the systems around it are. So I said, do you have difficulties? The fact that it's there is proof that it's not difficult. Is it a lot of work? Sure. But it's not. No, I'd say there's no reason to ever think that these things are getting easier per generation. So
that's good.
So I just came across some insect creatures there, which was they were little like annoying, swat them away literally like flies.
Razor beetles.
Yeah,
they have bigger brothers.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll find.
They
one
have flying manta rays. If you go to chapter 2, there's a bunch of them. If there's a volcanic area, probably near where you're at, if you head towards that, I can't see on the map where you are, but there'll be murinos, which are just flying murine eels, because they look cool with guns on them.
Nice.
So I've weaponized a fair bit of flora of fauna. So there's you've seen most people seen the trailers with the giant crabs and all the weird creatures that come looking and that have guns on them. So if anybody asks, I'm the guy that put a dorsal turret on a manta ray. I thought that'd be cool.
Now, Suka Brood has a question. Any plans on a Windows 10 version for people who'd want to get Xbox achievements on PC? Or even play anywhere,
I can't do any of these announcements here in the chat, guys.
Okay. Fair enough.
That is all planned out. So at this point, I can't confirm or deny any of that plans. Certainly, we want it on as many. It's also already on GOG, GOG. How do we say that?
Yeah, GOG. I just say GOG.
I said GOG, but I think I'm an idiot. But so GOG, it's going to be on Steam. It will probably be on the Windows Store, but I can't confirm any of that. We're focused on Xbox, and PC at the moment.
Yep. Now, Ruthrick Wow, another question. What kind of inspiration did you take from actual real-life birds, and specifically studying the falcon?
Well, there's actually... I watched a lot of videos. I must admit, I've watched more videos of slightly larger birds of prey. And it shows in the animations, because I assumed if you take something falconesque and upscale it, some of the muscle proportions and the way it flies would be more condor or eagle, or something bigger, owlish. But yeah, I spent a lot of watching a lot of videos. There's some great animators who have one guy who's an animating teacher, a British guy, has a fantastic blog. I forget his name. We had a blog that was very clear on what you shouldn't do. I think if you tilt the camera to the right so we can see the bird from the side while you flap.
Yep.
So if you flap, just dash. You can see that the wings are actually flapping forward. So if you play the game or see the trailers, interestingly enough, that's what birds do when they accelerate. So they're not flapping backwards, they're not swimming or anything. So it's very distinct, and I'm still tweaking the animation a little bit, because even if you look from the full frontal, you can see that due to the camera, you're not seeing the proper, because the camera's a little higher. So you sometimes have to fake it because the wings are a lot more hangy. So if you see these big birds of prey, the body's always lower and they're sort of low slung, badass. It really has that, but you can't see it from the back. So I spent a lot of time watching birds. I saw a video of I think it was an American condor flying away with a shark. Did anybody see that on Twitter? It's like a meme. It was like a beach, someone going, and there's a condor flying over the beach, and it's got like a big, 1.5 meter shark in its talons. And so there's so I had that was a good video, very enjoyable. So yeah, birds are badass. Got to watch a lot of birds.
Now I hope I pronounced this name right, because it's spelled Cheo. Cheo Walker. He said, if you can say, what is the file size?
Give me a second, and I'll actually scroll to the folder.
Okay.
And I'll scroll.
There's been
you want
a lot
on
of
Xbox?
talk about the size of games
Xbox?
lately. I guess we'll start with Xbox. Yeah.
So I'll have the one build here. It's 1.8 gigs.
Wow.
Series X and S is 2.24 gigs. I don't know why the difference at the moment. Could be one is older slightly. So that is because I don't use any textures. So a texture in itself can be 16 megabytes. If you have 1,000 textures, or 16 gig game. On top of that, comes audio and stuff. So most of that in the Falconeer is the world. The game world is fairly sizable, so that that still takes up a lot of space. And it's not procedural, so it's all handcrafted. But it's audio, so the most and then because so I can say a little bit of technical stuff. On Xbox One, I really needed the CPU to be how do you call it? Relieved of any duties. So one of the things you can do is then say, well, I'll add a little load time and not compress the audio, so there's no, let's say MP3, it's not MP3, but so there's no compression going on that's causing the CPU to be busy with. So I did lots of tricks like that. So that's why the numbers on the tweet that it takes 40 seconds on an Xbox One S or something is because there's quite a fair bit of uncompressed audio on that. Hopefully that also sounds a little better than compressed. So there's weird things to do. So that's game size. It's if you don't use any textures, you don't have very heavy games. But like I said, there's 30,000 words of text, of which I think over 18,000 got voiced in French, English, and German.
Oh wow! What? No Greek? What?
Huh? No Greek. No. Sorry.
Ed likes to talk about his Greek heritage quite a lot. I just ignore him and move on.
Okay. Well, there's that. We'd like to do more localizations after release, but that's what's in there. And trust me, if it's just one guy checking everything, that's a lot of work doing. We have Mikey Goodman, who's the lead singer of Sikt, who is a pretty decent metal band in the UK, or an excellent metal band. He's the voice director, so there's actually great voices, and it's really nice. I have
to admit, there's a really unique cast. Like I've played a bit. Like, and actually, at the moment, you guys can't really hear some of the voice acting because we're chatting away over it. But there's a good range, especially on the English soundtrack, of accents and some real guttural sort of Irish and Scottish in there as well that I can hear.
Oh yeah, there's some of there's his name's Chris Price, who has a voice that's so deep. It's like the lowest British voice I've ever heard. It's fantastic. So we had a lot of fun. I'm a bit of an Anglophile. There's some American accents in there as well, because it's a very mixed world. But it's got lots of British stuff in there. It might be over the top, but it's some of the inspiration for one of the faction is sort of the British Empire gone slightly evil, circa Trafalgar. So it's okay to go have a little fun with the British accent. So.
We're used to being the bad guys in films since Star Wars, so it's fine.
You're the good guys as well in this. So this isn't even. This doesn't happen on Earth. This is, I don't know where this is. The Ursee. It's somewhere.
Ursee.
How's the beta going?
Oh yeah, you're fighting the Murino, or you might have.
Get wrecked.
Oh, there you go. Get wrecked.
How's everything with the beta going, Thomas?
Well, I have to get back. Well, one person just discovered that if you click the mouse in the pause menu, it's actually still controlling the bird and the landing interface.
Well,
like that.
I think on that note, I know you haven't had much sleep, and I've seen probably about 4 or 5 updates on Steam today.
Well, no, it was like 3 or something, but. I've been doing it live. I had a little rest this morning, so I had a day off. Well, it's what you gotta do, man. You gotta keep your head down, listen to what people want, and decide the things you're not gonna do. But mostly, hear what people need to play the game, and try to get that done. So I definitely won't be able to fix everything, or people, what I find with games, people have lots of expectations.
Yeah.
So one person commented on Steam, said, "Hey, it's not like Panzer Dragoon." No, it's not like Panzer Dragoon. And if that's your expectation, you might be disappointed, because you might be really looking forward to that. But you pick, there's lots to be learned from a beta. It's the most scariest and the most useful phase of production.
Yeah, absolutely. You get all the real world people that do stupid things when we play the games, to tell you that we were confused.
Like you're playing now. So a little earlier, if people noticed a ship going down in a mall, it was just turning into the mall and then going wee off the edge.
Yeah.
That's a bug.
Yeah.
So I took note of that and tried. Well, the pathfinding, because it's cross-generational, is really hard, because the thing you can do in next gen is just have so many more rays and physics and stuff to prevent all that. But yeah.
Absolutely.
One question, and again, I'm not obviously technically minded enough to know, but I assume the answer to this is no. But Professor Ack has asked, are the textures in the game made using a process called voxel? Now, we already said there aren't really many textures at all.
There's no... well, I can understand what he's trying to say. Something like Minecraft, where you replace...
Well, I was going to say voxels are like literal cubes.
Voxel's a mathematical system you can use in many ways, but it's not voxel based now. It's just handcrafted geometry, and what I've done is where you would have textured, I generate a fractal like shape, for instance, to create the snow. The water is all sine waves. It's called a Gerstner wave, which is a sine wave, which has so if you have a sine wave and you flatten it, or you make it absolute, it becomes like a sawtooth, and then as Gerstner's got a little soft tip on the top. That makes no sense to anybody, but I love that kind of stuff. So there's lots of all that stuff to make the colors, basically. And I replaced all the regular lighting engine in the Unity engine. I use the lights, but only the direction. And then everything, the colors from the sky is just a handcrafted set of colors that transform into each other. So it's basically all gradients, and gradients are just math. It's just from A to B. And I am not a math whiz. I just do all this stuff because it makes things look unique and different. And then I bash it out. It's just trial and error. So I'm not. So if anybody ever wants to get in stuff and say, well, I'd like to do something that looks different, and I'll put some sort of limitation to my art, go ahead. You don't need to be a genius, but be prepared to do trial and error until it looks nice.
Well, it's funny you mentioned mods. We just got a question by Sebastian Plord. Will you eventually add a first person sitting on the bird view?
I asked this earlier today.
That's something maybe someone could mod.
So I think you get a vomit comment with all the rolling, but I'm not excluding anything at the point. I think the first updates will be bug fixes. There's some content which is missing, which I'd love to add. Or not missing, but which I didn't go around making, that adds, there's some things where I don't want to spoil but there's so much more to this world. Let's put it like that. So there's an entire fucking Kraken I made, so like the octopus type, and it wasn't fun yet. So I had to scrap it so I'd like to, when I'm calm down, relaxed. There's content comments.
Talk to Rare about the Kraken. Get some advice.
Is it not fun?
Well, in Sea of Thieves, the Kraken comes up, and it's a cool experience the first time you do it. The second and third time, you're kind of like, I know how this is going to play out.
Okay, so yeah, well, the Krakens are difficult, and then you put all the effort into making a tentacle interactive, and it's like and animated all that fucker. Definitely, but there's something to work on. There's a couple of sea monsters, so I think one of the first things will be more sea monsters.
Cool.
So but first person, I think the detail I'd like to add to do that would be quite extensive, because the art can be fairly simple, but I do like detail and having enough detail. But if you're up front, you need to see those rustling feathers. You need to have, see whatever seat you're sitting in. You need to have the reins, and then have the head of the bird move properly if you pull the reins or do whatever. That is a huge task. That said, I'm also interested in VR. That leads to the
we actually got a VR. We got a VR comment in the chat as well.
I did worked on TrackLab VR for PlayStation. Sorry.
That's fine, man.
So I have quite a bit of experience with VR. I do enjoy VR. I do think it's amazing. I might explore it for the Falconeer. Be interesting.
Yeah, I'd love to see this on like Oculus Quest or something like that, because I do wonder how you do the rolling.
I don't think the Oculus Quest, because so there's people on the trailer say, oh, it's a mobile game. It's a mobile game. It's not a fucking mobile game. It's a simplified look and it's a clean, abstracted look, but the environment effect, the volumetric, the ocean, this is
huge.
It's definitely that you can't run any of that stuff or the open world stuff, all that collision detection on mobile. That would be ridiculous.
So no Switch port then, huh?
Huh?
So no Switch port then, huh?
Only Xbox and PC have been announced. So, Oculus Quest, probably not.
No.
But when you hook it up to a PC, it becomes something else. So sure.
Well, so look, we're coming up on 90 minutes here, and I know that you've got the beta running at the moment, and you've been working a lot this weekend. So let's let you escape.
All right.
Last thing we'll say is to everyone is the Falconeer releases alongside the Xbox Series S, Series X, and on your OG Xbox One, One S, One X, and everything else on November 10th.
Yep.
And we'd like to thank you, Thomas, for spending your time with us this evening.
Thanks,
Jolly good fun.
And it was very cool to see it in that weird aspect ratio.
I'll send you some of the screenshots I took, just so you can analyze them. It looks really cool. It looks really, really cool.
Yeah, put them on Twitter, man.
I'll stick them up
on the forum.
I'll stick them up. Don't you worry.
We'll have to get you on the podcast again after launch.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. When people are playing it more and got some of the stories under their belt.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing it.
You got spotted in the mall in the stealth mission.
I did. I was just cruising. I was just like, this is cool.
Yeah, I saw you do it. And then if you come up, they see you and you got. Boom.
They totally saw me.
Thanks to everyone.
Well, before we end, the cool bit is you're now from a different faction, and this is the Shard where we were, and it's completely hostile to you now. I do enjoy the world changes based on the chapter you're in.
That's awesome.
I think. Well, there's. I have at the end of the. I didn't do it too much, but there's a couple of instances where the world sort of changes based on what you did, and you can fly back and see. Well, we discovered that ship there, and it's there, because in that chapter later. So there's a couple of things where you can go back and sort of go, oh wow, that's different. Which is I always like when games do that, when you can backtrack and say, oh, that exploded, oh fuck, it's gone.
Yeah.
And it's still gone.
It's permanent in the world. Well, you guys can look forward to playing this at launch. If you want to know more, Thomas has a Discord. We'll sling a link in the YouTube description.
We created a thread on our forum as well.
Worth shouting out about, And thank you everyone for watching. I didn't die once. I'll take that as a win.
You didn't die once.
Didn't die
still
once.
happen. I'm looking at you.
No, I've paused it now. It's not happening.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks to everyone that stopped by the chat as well and asked questions.
Yeah.
And Tech News Century, I'll quickly answer your question, mate. The Series S is digital. The Series X is not getting a digital.
Yeah. Well, not yet. Yeah. Maybe next year or the year after. No, Microsoft.
Yeah, let's hope.
Who knows?
Thanks everyone for stopping by.
Appreciated, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers, man.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Ciao for now.